Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar video. This is going to be the Dawn of Yangchen Recap part number 2. In this one we're going to be doing chapters 13 all the way up to chapter 25. So a big chunk here as we get towards the middle and past the middle of the book. But we will jump pretty much straight in here. You will note on screen that the list of characters compared to the part 1 recap is slightly different, as certain characters are not really in the book past the initial stage, and there's a bunch of new characters of course as well. But let's just quickly, right before we begin, mention where we were from the last part of the recap. So again, Yangchen is underneath the room where the Shang merchants are about to have their big discussion. She's in the heated floors basically underneath, listening in on their reaction to how kind of crazy the meeting has just gone, with her bringing up the king and that they've been scamming the king, basically the Earth King. So that's where we kind of jump in here. So chapter 13, outside options. So Zongdu Hansha hides out in the washroom, almost afraid to go out and truly deal with what Yangchen has sort of like brought to the Shang merchants. He can't believe that this is something that he has to deal with during his time as Zongdu. His attendant Miki arrives and she reveals that she saw Yangchen leave on her bison, but that she has no idea where Boma has gone. Hansha is furious and demands that she get onto the roof to check if Boma is spying on them. So she begins to climb up the dangerous scaffolding on the side of the meeting hall. The meeting actually begins among the Shang merchants, and the blame game starts straight away. Accusations all over the place about how this could happen. How did the Avatar come in here and lay this all on them? This is a problem. If the Earth King is brought into play, it could be over for them. It could be over for the Shang cities in general. So Hansha composes himself and notes that Yangchen has pointed out a pretty valid flaw in the Shang system, one that they know all too well, and that is that they only exist so long as the Earth King, the Fire Lord, and the Water Tribe Chief allow them to. And he has a solution of sorts. He brings up the one plan that they have been planning for a while to fix this problem: unanimity. It is a project that has been in the planning for a little bit. Older Shangs know immediately what this is. Newer merchants don't. The response to this seems to be skepticism, that this is some wild goose chase of a plan that won't actually change anything. But Hansha knows that it can actually turn things in their favor. It is noted here that this is a plan that has been mostly brought to fruition by Hansha's predecessor as Zongdu Dushim, as well as the current Zongdu of Jonduri, Chaisi. They've been working on this plan. So he explains that Project Unanimity will suddenly give the Shangs the power that they need to oppose the world leaders and maintain their kind of position as pseudo-world leaders, regardless of what those world leaders actually want. The Shangs all reluctantly agree to this plan, seeing it as the seeming only option to use unanimity. And we end the scene with just kind of like, as the audience noting that, wow, these Shang merchants would rather risk playing this game against the world leaders than just going ahead with Yangchen's idea to actually change things for the better for the people of Bin-Er. Craziness here, but it highlights their kind of unwillingness to be true leaders to their people. So Hansha then sends Sadao to Jonduri to tell Chaisi that they need the shipments immediately. Sadao is traveling with Yangchen, so he's going to have to kind of manipulate her and her plans to get her to go to Jonduri, because Chaisi only does business in person. They don't see this as being particularly difficult, as they expect Yangchen to go to visit all of the Shang cities anyway in an effort to improve things, which is her plan in the first place. He notes to Sadao what happened to the former Zongdu of Bin-er, Dushim, that when he left his position after his years in charge, he lived in luxury and died peacefully in his sleep. He got his money from being Zongdu and got out living a easy, happy life. And this is ultimately what most of the Zongdus, most of the Shang merchants actually want. They just want the benefit from this high position and not really to do the job. In the background, we hear a scream as it's revealed that Miki has fallen off the roof, but they just continue talking, no care that this person has badly injured themselves. So, Yang Chen then returns to Boma. Of course, she's been listening in on this discussion. She is stunned by their choice of action and worried about what unanimity could possibly be to give them so much confidence against the world leaders. So she decides to let Sadao direct her to Jondari, but it convinces her that she is correct in bringing Kavik into play. She's going to need someone like him to figure everything out and deal with unanimity. So she refuses to wait and see what potentially will happen. She will act now. This is her philosophy as the Avatar. Better to parry the sword than heal the wound. That is how she does things. She won't wait for an issue to happen and bad things to happen. If she senses that something is on the verge of happening, she's going to move to try and stop it before it actually causes a wound. We move into chapter 14, where Kavik meets with Qiu, who he is running errands for. He hands over an envelope he stole from the Avatar. Qiu returns the favor by telling Kavik what he knows about Kalyan. According to the Pass Control Office, a Water Tribe man with 8 fingers applied for an exit pass out of Bin-er. This confirms to Kavik that Kalyan left on his own. We get some backstory on Kavik at this point, from when he and his family first arrived in Bin-er. They were all together when they first stepped onto kind of Earth Kingdom Bin-er land, including Kalyan, and there was so much hope when the family first arrived. We note that even back then, at this time, Kalyan was missing 2 fingers. We'll get that backstory later on. Kavik and Kalyan work at Nukingox, which is a place that does bookkeeping. It is steady work where they make decent money, but after 6 months, Kalyan suddenly quits this job. This impacts the reputation of his family, and with how close the Water Tribe community is, this becomes a bit of an issue for the family. The rumors begin to swirl that Kalyan is a spy, an errand runner, and he still comes home. He's still here at this point. He actually gifts the family their large house that was noted from the earlier chapters. And then one day he doesn't actually return. And we get this reveal that suddenly the timing is perfect. All of Nukingox's key clients have been poached by a rival. Something that could only have been orchestrated by someone who knew the inner workings of Nukingox. And of course, Kalyan used to work there. Everyone knows that it was Kalyan, even though it's never, I suppose, fully confirmed. This causes many Water Tribe people to lose their jobs in Bin-er, and this is something that still has an impact to this very day. And this is why the family are not super well respected in Bin-er. A frustrated Kavik eventually decides that he has to know why his brother did this and kind of where his brother has gone. And so he too leaves Nukingox and becomes an errand runner. He just wants his brother back. Back in the present, Kavik struggles with the confirmation that Kalyan did just leave on his own without any care for the family. Qiu apologizes, knowing how close Water Tribe families are, and explains that he hopes to use this envelope, the letter here, to get himself out of the city. Kavik struggles to accept that he may never be reunited with his brother. This brings us into chapter 15. So Kavik remains in the tea house where he met Qiu, and then suddenly a disguised Yang Chen arrives to speak with Kavik. It's revealed that the letter that Kavik gave Qiu was a fake one with no important information. They then get down to business. Will Kavik work for Yang Chen, and what does she actually want him to do? So she explains the whole information that she learned from the meeting about the Shangs and unanimity. She needs him as an agent in Jondari while she officially meets with the Zhongdu Chai Si. Kavik finds it interesting that Yang Chen is the Avatar, but is hiring errand runners and doing all this plotting and scheming herself. She explains that the expectation that she can just keep the peace and do things normally never truly happens. It's never as easy as that, as much as people think that's how it works with the Avatar. So, like the Shangs, most just dismiss her attempts to help. So to make anything happen, she has to be like this. She has to do this plotting and scheming. Kavik will help in exchange for exit passes from Bin-Er for his family. Yang Chen agrees, but the passes will have to wait until after Kavik has helped, since it would alert everyone to a connection between her and Kavik if she was to organize this immediately. She gives him some final tests to ensure he is not working for the Shangs, and their partnership begins. This brings us to chapter 16. So, Kavik is snuck out of Bin-Er as part of an alms mission to the Northern Air Temple. He notes on the way to the Northern Air Temple that just meeting the Avatar a couple of times has got him out of the city in just a couple of days, but his family, including him before he met Yang Chen, has basically been trapped there for years. Just the sudden turn of events is crazy that he's just like that in an instant out of the city. Eventually, he is directed to meet with Yang Chen in a hospital which is nearby the Northern Air Temple. The hospital is surprisingly huge for where it's positioned, because it's filled with tons of people who have made an attempt to escape from Bin-Er, only to be caught out by the rough mountain terrain and the cold weather because of how up north they actually are. Kavik watches Yang Chen using healing to help as many people as she can. The abbot is frustrated that Yang Chen is bringing her spies near the temple, but suddenly there is a big emergency. A woman is in pretty critical condition and needs full body healing, but there are no tubs filled with water left. This causes Kavik to act immediately. He rushes outside, water bends a bunch of snow to bring water inside. He encases the woman in the water, and Yang Chen begins to heal. So they do this combination kind of bending technique where they manage to stabilize the woman. This gains Kavik some respect from the abbot, and Yang Chen also begins to trust Kavik more after this. The woman does regain consciousness and asks where her son is. She escaped Bin-Er with him. Where is he now? Kavik saw no one on the way here. Things look bad as we end the chapter. Going into chapter 17, Yang Chen says that the abbot will send out a search party to look for the boy, but for now they have to focus on the mission. She wants to show Kavik the Northern Air Temple, so she calls her bison Nujian over. Kavik, of course, has a very kind of fun interaction meeting a sky bison for the first time, and he's equally amazed by flying as well. So they get to the temple and begin to explore. The main thing we note here is that he is so intrigued by just Yang Chen herself and how different she is, being super comfortable up here, being the avatar he expects her to be in the air temple, versus the more spy master, plotting, scheming Yang Chen that he's experienced in most of their time together in Bin-Er. So Yang Chen explains the common question she gets, which is, why are you like this? So she explains about the incident that happened in Tianhaishi. Kavik knows that apparently she fought a powerful spirit there, and she confirms that yes, that is in fact the case. It was a very powerful spirit, they did fight, but in the end she did manage to negotiate a deal with General Old Iron, the spirit. Humans would leave that location alone, with the air nomads ensuring that this would in fact be upheld, and in response, Old Iron would stand down and not attack anyone anymore. Kavik thinks that this is the end of the story, a success for the Avatar, a fight followed by a negotiation, should be complete success. But Yang Chen continues and actually notes that the true challenge of this situation was the aftermath of dealing with old iron. The fight damaged the city, but the deal also required that the people of Tianhaishi leave their homes and find somewhere else to live, because the land is not meant to be occupied. So the entire giant city has to leave, find somewhere else to leave. And this is a very, very difficult thing to do. She stays with these people the entire way through this process. She enlists the aid of other air nomads to help with getting aid for these people, trying to get a few of them to be taken in by various cities as they go along. But it just doesn't work out. Failure at all times. And so when people start to die, Yang Chen realizes that this is where she needs to change her approach as the Avatar to make something happen. The expected Avatar approach of asking for kindness isn't working, so she commits to doing whatever needs to be done to achieve success. So she begins to manipulate, lie, force people's hands in order to relocate these people. And this begins to work. She has to do these underhanded tactics to relocate the people of Tianhaishi. And they are eventually absorbed into the Earth Kingdom, and she has since adopted this same approach to dealing with a lot of situations as the Avatar. If things don't go the expected way, she does these things to make something happen. This is why she is the way she is. After this, the two talk and get a little bit more kind of personal, where they allude to each other about their own lost siblings, basically, without fully revealing their names or maybe the full significance of it. But Yang Chen, of course, is referencing Jetson, and this is where we get the reveal that Jetson died years ago. We'll get more information on this as we go on. And of course, for Kavik, it is Kalyan who he's talking about, without, again, giving the full details. They're both trying to follow in the footsteps of their older sibling, despite losing them at some point in their life. Kavik is now more determined than ever to help Yang Chen. She can see that him helping the woman and the prospect of helping the people of Bin-Er is something that he cares about, and says it straight to his face that she is beginning to trust him more and more every time that they speak. Then he gets to meet Yang Chen's lemurs, Pick and Pack, who start grabbing at his face. He throws Pick off the side of the temple, only later realizing that winged lemurs can fly. Pack will remember this. At night, Kavik wakes up and spots Yang Chen on the airball court. He thinks she's practicing, but is in fact getting her frustrations out by powerfully airbending on the airball court. He goes back to sleep, interested that he got a chance to see this very real moment of emotion for Yang Chen, that she can do so much, be so successful as the Avatar, but the failures do have an impact on her. She does get frustrated just like everyone else. Then we go into chapter 18. They fly on Nujian to the drop-off point in Jondari. The plan is that Kavik will meet up with Yang Chen's contacts in Jondari while she has an official meeting with Zongdu Chai-Si. After the assumed failed meeting, they will work together to locate the unanimity shipment, since Chai-Si is the one in possession of whatever unanimity is. Yang Chen then airbends Kavik into the water, revenge for throwing Pick off the temple. Kavik says that Pick forgave him, but Yang Chen knows that Pack didn't forgive him. Eventually in the water, Kavik is picked up by a fellow water tribe man. They introduce themselves. This is Tayagum. He asks about Ayunarak, which of course Kavik is familiar with. But all of a sudden, Tayagum captures Kavik in the rope of the ship, and then says the first line of a planned conversation. Kavik is stunned, but eventually says the right part of the planned conversation and is freed. Tayagum warns Kavik to be more cautious and to think a little bit more about some of these situations he's going to get himself into. So the plan is to get Kavik into Jondari using the identity of Tayagum's assistant. Kavik is not impressed by how vague the idea is, because Taegum isn't telling him anything about like the way the assistant looks or acts typically. He's just convinced that the guard is going to be hungover from the night before. He doesn't really know the assistant that well, so Kavik will get through. But when they get up close to the checkpoint, they realize it's actually the kind of like head guard that's going to be there, not the guy they expected. And this person knows exactly who the assistant is. So it's panic stations here until Kavik acts quickly to save the day. He smashes his face into the ship's railing, breaking his nose. Blood is everywhere. This is how they'll get through the checkpoint. Everyone only sees the injury here, and so both are just allowed through. And it works, and he's also earned Taegum's respect in this moment as well. Into chapter 19, Taegum brings Kavik to the water tribe inn owned by his husband Akudan. Akudan sets Kavik's broken nose and lets Kavik rest for a while. When Kavik wakes, he asks basically, who are these two water tribe men living on like a fire island? What's going on here? They're a bit annoyed about his prying, but ultimately they trust who Yangchen has chosen for this mission and explain their history. During the Platinum Affair, they were both quartermasters aboard a ship, helping to escort one of the Platinum deliveries from the water tribes to General Nong. But they were among those captured by Earth King Feishan's forces when he turned the tables and won that incident. They were kept imprisoned for quite a while until Yangchen eventually got them released. This is why they are so loyal to her. Kavik then brings them up to speed with what the plan actually is. They're worried about this because he doesn't seem to realize how different the kind of errand running situation is with how Chai-Si runs Jondari. She has full control of information coming in and out and holds nothing back on anyone trying to act against her. And she particularly hates spies, which is effectively what Kavik is acting as here. If they get caught, they are dead, basically, is the situation here. They also kind of note that like he seems to be a bit naive to the situation there while they're professionals. But Kavik kind of turns the tables a bit and points out that, hey, which one of you guys is going to break your assistant's nose? Because I broke my nose, I went through the checkpoint. People are going to expect your assistant to have a broken nose. They know that now. And so that's something they didn't quite think about, but something that Kavik is thinking about. Into chapter 20. Yangchen is led to her meeting with Zhongdu Chai-Si. As she waits for Chai-Si, she notes some of the books on Chai-Si's bookshelf, including The Pearls of Lahima and the complete works of Shoukan. Chai-Si arrives revealing that she is 7 months pregnant. They begin by discussing the books that Yangchen noted before. Chai-Si notes similarities between Lahima and Shoukan, but that Shoukan can be more harsh than Lahima. Shoukan, being from an unknown nation, also brings up that Chai-Si herself struggles to classify herself as being from a specific nation. There are no benders in her family. She's from an island that's kind of half and half, whether it's Fire Nation or Earth Kingdom territory, and she doesn't really have any particular family traditions of note or anyone particularly like notable or famous in her family lineage. So she's kind of in between. Is she Fire Nation, Earth Kingdom, or something else? They then get down to business. Chai-Si knows why Yangchen is here, to basically try and make the same changes she wanted to make in Bin-Er. She shocks Yangchen by actually agreeing to the idea of changes in Jondari, as well as trying to use her influence to make these changes happen in the other Shang cities as well. Yangchen is excited until she realizes that this is just another form of her ideas being dismissed. She's being given everything she wants, all these assurances, so she actually presses Chai-Si for details. How long will these reforms actually take? And this is where she gets some vague responses, that it might take a lot, many years. Yangchen then asks, that means that you will go through your time as Zongdu and I'll have to deal with a different Zongdu. Can you stay in charge longer so that we can make sure these changes actually happen? But Chaisi says that no, the term limit on Zongdus is set in stone. I can't make that happen. So the idea realistically is that Chaisi would do very minimal stuff to make changes happen. She would be replaced as Zongdu, and the next Zongdu would require different negotiations, and ultimately no changes would truly happen. But anyway, as the meeting progresses, Chaisi notes that her assistant is a spy for the Fire Lord, and she casually explains that she will have the Fire Lord hear what information she wants to get to the Fire Lord, and then she will dispose of the spy in a pretty brutal way. Also, she has heard of what happened to Yangchen during the parade in Bin-Er with food being thrown at her, and she says that if that happened in Jondari, she would deal with that in a very blunt and brutal way. Yangchen is shocked, stunned that Chaisi is being so brazen with these I will kill people kind of reveals here. And the meeting is effectively over at this point. As Yangchen goes to leave, Chaisi gifts her Shouken's book as part of one of the few customs from her village that she knows about. And then she drops a bombshell on Yangchen, a message that she chanced upon that was meant for Yangchen. It's an urgent message from the head of the Sauwang clan in the Fire Nation. Things have gone badly there, and that they need Yangchen's help. The children of the Sauwang clan are in danger. Chaisi has successfully countered Yangchen's plan here, because Yangchen is now going to have to deal with what happened on Mainka Island instead of going back to Kavik to continue the plan. Into chapter 21. 3 days later, and Kavik has heard nothing from Yangchen. Their lone opportunity to get Kavik inside Chaisi's organization is about to close. The 3 Water Tribe men decide to act without Yangchen's approval and are going to send Kavik to Chaisi's recruitment drive later that night, because she wants muscle to deal with a dock worker dispute that is going on. So Kavik goes to the meeting hall here, expecting a test of some sort to get the meeting that he wants to get the job. He sees a lot of gambling going on in here, but decides to settle down at a pie show table and play things cool. He plays a very stalling style of game, just waiting to see if anything actually happens, not trying to do anything too fancy. Soon, he gets approached and is ushered into the back. He and others are chosen, and one of the other people with him is sent away immediately, revealing that he thought the test was to earn the most by gambling and really trying to stand out. But the test was actually the opposite in a way. It was to see who stood out the least. A good errand runner needs to go into a place like this, blend in, and not be noticed, which is exactly what Kavik did, which is why he has been chosen. So this is where we meet the character Tael, Tael, and he is leading the recruitment here, and really specifically wants a waterbender, so Kavik is in straight away, no real questions asked. He has the right approach, and he's a waterbender, he is in. They just need to decide on who his partner for the mission is going to be. And they're going to decide that by the winner of this knife throwing competition that's been ongoing for the last while. So they've all been nailing perfect throws here. One of them throws 2 knives. One bullseye. The second one right into the back of the first knife. So it's pretty much a perfect double knife throw here. The other competitor decides that he's not going to do better than that, because there's no better knife throw than that. And even if he does that, they just have to go again. They're too perfectly good at knife throwing here. So he just asked the question. So if I lose to this guy, he gets the job. He gets confirmation that this is the case. So he just stabs the other guy in his throwing shoulder and is like, hey, I lose, I concede, but I don't think you want this guy for the job because he can't throw a knife anymore. And so they're like, yep, that logic holds. And so Kavik has his partner, whose name is revealed to be Jujinta. So, we move on to chapter 22. Yang Chen arrives on Mainka Island. She wonders what has gone wrong. Last time she was here, she dealt with their issue. So she meets with Duke Zolian, who meets with her. He begins to speak to explain what happens, but Yang Chen cuts him off and just immediately demands that he shut up. She is angry and frustrated, explaining that she gave them very clear instructions last time to uphold the bargain, and they seem to have broken it, which is why she's back here and why she's so worried about the prospect of what's going to happen. So the details on what happened here before is that Mainka Island had an issue with some phoenix eel spirits that had been causing issues for the Sauwon clan. Yang Chen was brought in to negotiate with the spirits because she is the avatar. She created a deal with the spirits that the spirits would stop causing issues if the Sauwon clan stayed away from the cenotes on the island, as well as some of the land that is nearby these locations, which is obviously where the phoenix eels live. And if this deal was upheld, there would be no issue between humans and spirits. Yang Chen now knows that they have broken this deal she created with the spirits, and she's asked to help negotiate once more, because this time the spirits have cursed the children on the island. They will not wake up no matter what happens, despite otherwise being healthy. They want to, the leaders of the island want to show Yang Chen the children, but she violently refuses going to see these children, noting that because of what happened to Jetson, she cannot see someone in that state ever again. She wants to deal with the problem immediately. The clan show that they are aware that they've made a mistake here. They show Yang Chen their dishonor by revealing that the entire clan has undergone the dishonor ritual of cutting off their top knots. She then gets their excuse for breaking the deal, which is that they had lean times and they needed to use all available land to grow food. Yang Chen then asks them if they would have better adhered to the deal if they knew that the deal had come from Avatar Zito himself, the avatar before Yang Chen. Their response is, wait, did the deal come from Avatar Zito? Yang Chen just leaves, frustrated, knowing that they would have. That they have more respect for the previous avatar than they have for her. And so her frustration just grows as we go into chapter 23. As she makes her way back to the Phoenix Eel spirits, she finds the truth over how exactly the deal was broken. The land wasn't used for farming, but in fact for mining and excavation. This was why the spirits had responded as they did. The deal was broken by the land being full-on destroyed, not just being used for farming. She finds the spirits. They have now turned dark because of the broken deal, and now they only want punishment for the Sauwon clan. She points out their show of dishonor, but that is not enough for the spirits. They are eternal, and so the time it would take for their hair to grow back means nothing to these spirits. She tries pointing out that to negotiate and points out that Old Iron listened and would negotiate, but they're enraged. They are not Old Iron, they are different. That is not good enough. One of their tendrils reaches out and touches Yang Chen on the forehead, showing her a vision. She is shown Jetson's perspective presently in the spirit world. She seems to be trapped in a mist, a fog. This is heavily speculated, but not fully confirmed to be the fog of lost souls. That seems to be the implication here. The vision ends, and she demands that the Phoenix Eels release her. But they say they don't have her, that nothingness has her, and that is what she will see forever. Yang Chen is stunned by this revelation. She knows that Jetson is dead, but is now being told that she is technically alive in the spirit world. She doesn't know how to deal with that, and in fact has other stuff to deal with right now. So she has to negotiate with the dark spirits, and there's only one way to do that. And she says that killing the children of the Sauwon clan will only cause them grief for one lifetime, but that she can help the Phoenix Eels come up with a punishment that will have a longer lasting toll. This interests the spirits finally. So she returns afterwards to the Sauron clan leaders, informing them that the children will be released, but that there will be new, harsher aspects compared to the previous deal. They cannot regrow their hair for 50 years, and there are a variety of other restrictions that will impact the clan financially, as well as their reputation among the other clans. This effectively will ruin the clan for the next generation plus. But as Yang Chen notes, future generations will have a chance to get things back on track. That ultimately they did this to themselves by not adhering to the initial deal that Yang Chen made. They reluctantly accept their fate and will do what they can. She returns to Nujian then and finds a letter from Chaisi. Chaisi is sure that Yang Chen has found a solution to the problem on Ma'inka Island. She then mentions meeting a boy from Bin who seems to be familiar with Yang Chen. She reiterates how she deals with spies. You invite them in. So this leaves Yang Chen terrified for Kavik, that he might have been caught and killed by Chaisi, because she knows that is what Chaisi does. Then we go into chapter 24. Kavik and Jujinta prepare for their first job, its disposal duty. 2 spies that Chaisi has dealt with already. Kavik is stunned to find that one of the bodies is Q. In a daze, he plays his role and helps dispose of the body by encasing it in ice and sending them out to sea. He realizes that Q was killed because he had the letter from Yang Chen, the one he gave to him. This is why Chaisi thought that he was a spy. He arrives back at the safe house, and Yang Chen is relieved to see Kavik is alright. It is only then that Kavik realizes he has a bag of coins in his hand, payment for disposing of Q. Chapter 25. Kavik flashes back to when he was 8 years old. During a hunt, he and Kalyan had become separated from everyone else in the middle of a blizzard. Kalyan made them a shelter as they waited for the storm to subside, but it kept going. With no food, Kalyan resorted to desperate tactics. He cut strips off his mittens to make a last-ditch source of food for his brother Kavik. Eventually, Kalyan gets his brother back home, but this is where he loses 2 fingers to frostbite. Kavik blames himself for everything. The failed hunt being a burden to Kalyan during this excursion in the blizzard, for Kalyan's lost fingers, and even for more than this, because he notes that it was after this point where more and more hunts began to fail. This then prompted the need to move to Bin and it's revealed here that Kavik has been basically blaming himself for everything ever since this moment. Present-day Kavik faints from the realization of what happened to Q. He eventually explains to everyone what happened, which shocks everyone. Yang Chen is frustrated and runs off after hearing this, that she was involved as well as part of the plan to give the letter to Q. Kavik follows her, knowing that, like at the air temple, she is going to want to blow off some steam by bending. And so he finds her bending out at the waves, screaming in frustration. She spots him and makes a cave for the 2 of them in a nearby cliff face. She asks about the other body, and they figure out that it was Sadao, who was sent by Hansha earlier on to speak to Chaisi, who she also considered to be a spy. In this case, truthfully, Yang Chen is ready to end the whole plan. It is too much of a risk for Kavik, but Kavik is convinced that he hasn't been made yet. They don't know he's working for Yang Chen, because otherwise he'd be dead already. They have to do this for people like you after what has happened here. Kavik is surprised at how emotional he is about Q's death, having not known him that well. Yang Chen points out that for the Avatar and Avatar companions, this is what they have to do, fighting for both the people that they know as well as the people that they don't. Kavik wonders if he truly is an Avatar companion. Yangchen says the choice is his, and he has made up his mind. He's going to be an Avatar companion. And that is where I will end part 2 of the recap. There will more than likely be 2 further parts, with the final part being probably just the last couple of chapters, as well as some open plot threads heading into Yangchen Book 2. But that has been the video. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were. But that's been it. Thanks for watching, and bye.